What's going on, everybody? We're back. All of us are back.
We're back.
And I'm so excited. I've got my two best friends here, Hayden and Trey, to talk about some fights this week. We've got HRMMA 125, the card breakdown. We're going to go through these fights for you.
You know how long it's been?
It's been, I guess it's been 3 months.
3 months.
Oh my God, 3 months.
Most viewed video on the channel, three of us.
Yeah, the most viewed video is basically this. So
your interviews ain't cut in. We gotta cut it off.
I get a new guy to interview people. I don't know. This guy sucks. But I want to preface by saying, yeah, I think he'd be great at it. I want to preface this by saying thanks to Brandon from HRMMA for inviting us out to the fights and letting me get kind of involved in this whole thing to start off with. Thanks for everybody who's watched the videos, liked the videos, commented, supported, subscribed. If you want to continue to support us, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're liking, make sure you're sharing our videos, because getting us out there allows us to get more fighters on the show and kind of get a broader outreach for these guys to get their voices out there, because that's what this is all about. I want to make sure that these fighters have a platform that they're able to kind of get their self out on. And I just love to meet people. I love hanging out with my friends and talk about fights, going to the fights. So thanks to everybody. I have done some interviews for this fight and a few other fights that are coming up. So if I have talked to you, it's been an amazing time. I've had a great time talking to everybody. And if I haven't talked to you, we need to fix that. We need to get everybody to come on and get your story out there. I'm excited to see you guys fight this week. So I'm going to go ahead and also say that a lot of my information comes from Tapology and what we could find on the internet. So if something isn't right and I say something that's wrong, message me, let me know, hey, something's wrong. We'll correct it for next time. But the next few weeks are heating up in Kentucky in the regional MMA scene, especially. We've got this weekend, the May 31st, HRMMA 125, which is what we're going to be talking about today. June 6th at 4th Street Live, Future Fighting 7 is Mays versus Dansby. That's going to be an awesome card. I can't wait for that. And of course, LFA 210 on June 13th with Lawrence versus Reyes. So again, thanks to everybody, and we'll get this thing started. But I've been watching this card for a few weeks now, and as it's come together, I've been excited about certain fights more than others. And as we went through it this week, I've kind of equally raised my excitement for a lot of these fights. But there's one fight in particular that's not happening now, and I'm a little upset about it. I'm not going to lie. I was looking forward to this fight quite a bit, and I'm not sure the reasoning, but
I am too. I am upset on it. I wish we could get to the bottom of this.
What you got behind you there?
Where?
It looks like
that.
Is that what I think it is?
Let me go grab it. There's one fight I've been wanting to see. It's Brian Hooper versus John Johnson Jr. And someone pulled out. So I just need to know, has anyone seen this, man? You know how excited I was to see Brian Hooper? Someone please find John Johnson Jr. Get him in contact with us. We want him on the show. We want to talk. What's happening? He canceled twice. We need to see what's going on here.
I want to see this matchup, and I was excited about it, and I hope I was well with everybody, but I am kind of disappointed that this fight fell through. So,
help us, please.
If you're out
right
there,
here,
we need to make this fight happen.
Let us know what happened. We need to make it happen. I need to see Brian Hooper in the cage, please.
Other than that, I think the rest of the card's set in stone pretty well. We'll go ahead and get through it. So a lot of these fights, I don't have a whole lot of information on. So I want to go through as much as I can accurately and throw it over to you guys if you guys have any information about some of them. But there are a few fights on here that we just can't find much information on these guys. The first fight on the card, though, we're getting started with Caden Willoughby and Dostan Farmanov. Caden is fighting out of Evansville, Indiana, and Dostan is out of Nashville MMA training camp in Nashville, Tennessee. Caden lost by decision in his debut against E.J. Brown in March of this year, and Dostan lost by a rear naked choke in his debut in round 2 of February of this year.
Well, would you say it's his debut, Caden, because, I mean, it's his first Tapology debut, but yeah, he's 3-0 in the Backyard Fighting League. Mind you, 2 of them submissions.
He does have some experience.
Put some respect on his name.
He's got some experience, maybe not on canvas, but
on dirt he does. Arguably better.
I'd say it's probably a little bit of a different challenge, I guess would be the word to put it. I don't know if it's more difficult or less difficult, but I'd say it's definitely a challenge for sure to fight on some dirt. But yeah, they're both looking to take away their 0 on their winning side of their fight column here. So both of them have fought fairly recently and looking to get that 0 erased. Do you guys have anything else to say about this first fight here?
I think Kane's gonna look to strike. He has some pretty good hands, but he needs to watch out for Dawson's kicks. The spinning kicks can get pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
If you look at Mayhem MMA, mind you, that's Nate Manis, by the way. I think part of my pronunciation. UFC vet. That's his gym. They posted on their Facebook that he was looking to grapple. Well, he's been working on his grappling. He thinks he's going to grapple, I believe. He didn't mention striking, but I think he's going to grapple this time.
Regardless, I think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think both these guys are probably hungry to get in the cage and display some of their skills. So I'm excited for this fight. Most of this card, I think, is an exciting card. I don't know of a single fight where I other than having any knowledge about it at all, I'm excited about every fight. Now, we'll get to one here in a minute where I don't have any knowledge at all. So I am still excited for the fight, but not knowingly what their skills are.
It's gonna be a great way to kick off the card for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good opening fight for the card. The next fight on the card is Gerardo Alfaro and Omar Campbell. Gerardo is 2-0. He's fighting out of high-intensity combat sports, and he's had some complications recently. Trying to get a matchup with Jacob Yancey going. I talked to Jacob on the show not too long ago. I spoke with Gerardo before at one of his last fights. But I would like to see that fight happen. It's kind of been like postponed twice now. So hopefully one day we'll get to see Gerardo versus Jacob Yancey there. But we got to see Gerardo fight at HRMMA. It's the Return to Bowling Green card, and he won against Arisi Tubbs by unanimous decision. In that fight, Gerardo and Tubbs were kind of back and forth on the ground, and they kind of exchanged like transitions fairly often on the ground there. Gerardo did, I think, in my opinion, do a slightly better job in those transitions of maintaining control and looking for possible openings, but he just couldn't close the submission out there. And ultimately, Tubbs kind of held him off, and it went to decision. Omar, on the other hand, he's fighting out of Circle City Martial Arts and Fitness. He's 2-1. He's got one decision win and one win he has by strikes 44 seconds into the first round. What do you guys got on that?
Yeah, I mean, look at Omar Campbell's smooth comp, and you'll definitely be impressed. I mean, he's a blue belt. Only 3 wins. 3.
14 subs.
14 subs. I mean, this guy is a shark on the ground, buddy. I tell you. Definitely Gerardo needs to stay off the ground. If he gets to the ground, it's over. If I put my money on, I'd say Omar by submission, but, you know.
From what I've seen from Gerardo, he likes to stay on the ground. So I would be interested to see if he does decide to maybe implement more striking, knowing that this could be a very different situation maybe if it goes to the ground this time. Like I said, he did some pretty good work on the ground when he was fighting at HRMMA, but at Return to Bowling Green's card. But I don't know if it, is it going to be good enough is the question, I guess.
I feel like he knows how to win some minutes, though. So if the fight does prolong into later rounds, I feel like he could guarantee to win.
Okay, yeah, you're saying his fight IQ would be,
that's
I
what
want
I'm
to drag the fight out, get the decision win versus trying for the sub. So yeah, I could see that too. I think getting maybe he drags the fight out and doesn't. If he can work on his gas tank a little bit and maybe not get the submission attempts and burning that energy up, if he's just trying to survive, if he could put in enough work, if Omar doesn't put in enough work, I can see that maybe happening too. So if Omar stays busy though, that's not a way. I don't see that going his way at all. The next fight on the card, if there's nothing else on that one, we got Riley Napier and Benjamin Blair. Both these guys are looking at their debut here. I couldn't find anything personally on them. I know Riley's fighting out of Fit BJJ according to Tapology, and Benjamin Blair is out of Harris Holt Combat Sports. I couldn't find any footage of their fights or anything right off. So I don't have anything to say about this fight. If you guys have anything, shoot.
I think it should be pretty exciting, though, to see these two fighters start their journey
I think that's a big part of this card too. I think a lot of these fighters are kind of like, obviously all but one is amateur on this card, but a lot of these amateur fighters don't have a lot of experience, and if they do have experience, maybe it's in different like facets of the combat sports area. So I do like that this is a very. I feel like you're going to see a lot of hungry fighters in this card. I think it's going to be a lot of people who are like coming up, ready to get their career kicked off, like you said, and I think it should be an exciting fight. I just don't know their skill sets. Up next, we're looking at David Wright, 2-1 versus Mahid Watkins, 1-1. David has 2 wins, one by striking under a minute in the first round, and one by split decision. He did lose his last fight against Bryce Crump to an arm triangle in October of last year, and this is his first time coming back to the cage since then. Mahid out of Derby City MMA, which has quite a few fights coming up, even on this card has a few fights. Mahid won his debut against Michael Fairhurst by guillotine in the first minute of the first round. And at the Made Men show in 2014, we were actually there. You got to see that live. However, he did lose his fight against Colby McDonald in round 2 in August of 2024, and that was kind of his last time too. So both these guys have been out for a while from at least the like mixed martial arts cage fight like practice, I guess. But I think that they've taken their time off and they're going to come back, and this is going to be like them getting back into it. So I think that should be good. I know Derby City's been like really gearing up for this next couple of weeks. Like I said, with these 3 fight cards coming up just this month alone, there's a lot of Derby City guys coming out. So I think their gym is really prepping them hard. So I'm hoping that this is a return to form for both these fighters. I don't have much information on kind of David's. I think you said he was out of, was it Mayhem?
Well, yeah, Typology's on Tag, and I'm pretty sure Tag isn't a thing anymore. I'm pretty sure most of those guys on the Mayhem might need a fact check on that. Please let us know in the comments, or however. That's out at Hendersonville. Tag it. Well, no, is it? I don't know. It's out of that area. It's all in the same area of like Evansville, Indiana, down there. But I'm pretty sure it's Mayhem now. But then again, I'm not exactly sure on that.
I really enjoyed David Wright's striking from the little I saw. But I'm kind of curious. Watkins has some submission wins. I wonder if Wright has advanced enough to maybe stop those from happening.
Yeah. I'm interested to see kind of like what the improvements and stuff that these guys have went through in this time off. I know maybe they've been doing other sports, like I said, outside of MMA, and they could have been kind of keeping themselves active that way, or it could have truly just been like, hey, maybe I'm not wanting to fight for a while to get myself back up. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get to talk to them at the fights and kind of get a little bit of insight on that. So that's all I've got on that one. On to the next. We got a Reese Tubbs 0-1 versus Cameron Kane 1-1. Reese Tubbs is coming out of Club MMA, which has a lot of fighters on this card, and he's looking for his first win. He lost to Gerardo Alfaro, who we just talked about a second ago, by decision at that Return to Bowling Green MMA card. Tubbs stayed on the offensive pretty much the whole time with Gerardo there, and I think he needs to continue focusing on some takedown defense. So Gerardo kind of dominated the takedowns in that fight and ended up ultimately getting the decision win out of that. I'm not sure how much takedown defense is gonna help him against Kane though, because Kane's got some hands. So Cameron Kane is out of Nashville MMA training camp. His fights have both went the distance, and his recent listing on Tapology was, or at least that's what his recent Tapology entry said. His debut was against Yoel or Ale from Future Fighting. He fights and he does, I think, media management there. I got to talk to him. He's a really cool guy. Very thankful for that guy as well. But Kane is a fairly accurate striker. I have noticed a lot of fights on this card, though, have a problem with they're not moving their heads a lot. They're kind of standing there. If they're not wrestling, they're just kind of standing and striking, which that'll get you so far, I think. But you're going to have to implement a little bit of head movement here, because I think if you're taking shots that you could have maybe avoided, you could definitely capitalize on some various opportunities to, put the fight in your favor a little bit more, other than just eating shots. So he escapes fairly well, and he moves in and out really well, but he just kind of stays right in the middle when he does it. So he hits really hard, and I think he has potential knockout power, or at the very least, some combinations that could really put a damper on the Tubbs situation here. But I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say for him is he needs to work on keeping his head.
Yeah, I love Kane's distance management, man. It is a
great use of the jab.
Tyler Howard fight, ripping the body. It seemed like he had a lot more volume than Howard and just faster hands. I mean, he looked great in that fight. And like I said, that the distance management was everything to him. So, I really like Kane coming into this if he can keep doing what he's doing and showcase what he did last time. I think he'll get it.
All right. Moving on, we got Steven Stefano. He's 2-2, and Sean Wright is also 2-2. Steven Stefano, we've got to see him a couple times now. He fought Will Davis at HRMMA 124, which was, I think, the last fight that we all three went to together. And then he fought again at Future Fighting 6, where he fought AJ Porter. He ended up losing both of those fights, but that's not really saying a whole lot against him because Will Davis is an excellent fighter, and AJ Porter is kind of on a tear right now with his only recent loss being to Anthony McCormick in a kickboxing fight, which Anthony's fighting in LFA now. That's kind of like, he's fighting highly skilled people. I don't take those losses as like a default and like a defect in his skill. I think he's just facing some tough guys. When he was fighting Porter, Stefano kind of got himself in a bad position. Stefano's been training with, or has trained in the past with Dustin Poirier in Louisiana with his time there. When he was fighting Porter, he had Porter's back to the cage, but then he got kind of swapped around and Porter would go for a takedown, and at the very least, he was either up against the cage or pinned up against the cage on the ground. So over the course of the fight, that kind of added up, and Stefano is another one of those guys who I think could really benefit from some head movement. I think he's got a lot of the technique. He's got the experience. He just needs to kind of put himself in more advantageous positions is the way I'm going to word that.
I feel like if he doesn't move that head, Mr. Wright's going to find that left hand.
I was going to say I couldn't find much footage on Sean. He does have 2 round 1 knockouts, 1 in 10 seconds and 1 in 29 seconds. However, he has been stopped by strikes in his other 2 fights, so I don't know really how he looks in the cage, but my advice is, like you said, avoid the punch power of Mr. Wright. He has more experience than Sean. Sean's only got 3 minutes total octagon time. If Steven can take advantage of that, kind of put stuff against his, kind of play his cards right, I think he could have a very different fight here. Hayden, you got anything?
Yeah, Wright's out of tag MMA too. So if that's if his head coach is still Manis, that's definitely an advantage of him. Even though he does not have a lot of cage time, I definitely think that coaching is definitely a factor to play into the fight. I think Wright might have an advantage in the first round, like I was saying, but I think if Stefano can take him a little deeper, maybe we can see a different fight.
And I think that's a good point to make too. All these guys have, like, there's a few guys in this fight that have, sub 5 minutes in the cage, and it's all about like, you're fighting somebody with way more experience, but you're saying like the coaching and stuff, the way the gym, all these are factors in kind of a fight camp. Your mental state, the whole 9 yards. So it could go 1,000 ways in any fight, and that's what I really enjoy about watching fights. That's all I've got on Stefano and Sean. Trey, have you got anything else on that one?
That's about it.
All right. We got Gabriel Alfaro. He's 0-1. He is, I believe, Gerardo's brother, if I'm not mistaken. And Elias Saddam, who is 0-0 right now. We got to see Gabriel fight at HRMMA 123. He's got the hometown advantage here, coming out of Bowling Green. But he ended up getting taken down, and he lost that fight at 123. This is Ioannis's debut, so I didn't find anything on him. But I am excited for this fight. I think it's going to be a good fight, regardless of being able to see any of their cage time. Like I said, these guys are hungry, ready to come out. So.
Any debut is fun to watch. It's just fun to see what kind of fighter you're going to get. A little mystery gift.
Yeah,
for fans.
And watching Gabriel's fight, I think it's been, what is that, like, it's probably been, when was 120?
That was November of last year.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty good while since Gabriel's fought. at least in the cage. So he did a good job. I think he just wanted to take some time off and work on some skills, and I do think that was probably the right call there. So hopefully we'll come out and see a different Gabriel this time, and
I think we will.
We'll get to see
I think we will.
Elanis show off some. Next on the card, we got Eric Moore and Mitch Donahue. These guys are going to put on a show. Brandon, the owner of HRMMA, and he put out on Facebook the other day that he's kind of expecting this to be maybe a fight of the night contender here. Eric Moore is coming out of Derby City. He's on a 3-fight knockout streak, 2 kickboxing, and he won his MMA debut at NLC 32. Moore came out, and he looked great in that fight, man. He threw a head kick right out of the gate, which set up, I guess he was kind of gauging his distance. But he landed it, and then Pettyway, I think was the guy's name, he didn't really account for it, and just a few seconds later, he got another one, exact same thing, and just knocked him straight out. So that was very impressive. But I think a lot of that kickboxing guys are kind of knockout artists that you'll see throughout this card, and it's always exciting to watch. I have a great time watching those fights. But Mitch Donahue's coming in 2-1. Both his wins are strikes in the first round. He was able to muscle around Quentin Jones and Seth Johnson and started doing some serious ground and pound in those fights. I'm interested to see where this goes. I think he has some really good I think Eric Moore has some incredible power, but I think Mitch can probably get him to the ground, and I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Mitch implement some grappling here and see if Moore can handle how Moore handles the grappling.
Yeah, this is probably one of the fights I'm most excited for, but I kind of going to disagree with you. I think we're going to get another Moore headshot kill to add to the highlight reel.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Moore's not going to come out and do the same thing, but I would just be interested that, if he goes to the ground, what's Moore's game plan?
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to see. I like to see people get challenged when they're in the cage. Everybody loves a good knockout, obviously, but when you see somebody for example, when Todd Pickett was fighting at the last HRMMA fight, he got knocked down and the whole crowd exploded because, you see somebody you're really rooting for get put in a position where it could go either way here, or maybe, something's amiss, and you just kind of want to see people get tested some. So I'm excited for that one. Hayden, do you have anything on this one? All righty. Up next, we got Dakota Williams and Sinjin Noga. Both are 1-1. We got to see both these guys fight as well. Sinjin won against Gabriel Alfaro.
Gabriel, yeah. Let's say that. These guys are constantly fighting each other, man. You see one guy on the card, he probably fought someone else on the card. I think that's pretty interesting. But
I was speaking to one of the fighters recently about that. I was talking about cross training and stuff. You guys see each other all the time. You're always fighting against each other and stuff. They're do you go and cross train with these people because you might be fighting the person, a month from now, and it's kind of hard to which of course they do. It's a big part of it. It's cross training and stuff. But it is interesting to we've seen, like I said, probably 50% of these people in this card, and a lot of them have fought each other. So. But Dakota Williams beat Tyrone Moore, which we also watched. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Rear naked choke.
Yep, he had the rear naked choke there in the first round on the last HRMMA event. I think both these fighters have a very similar fighting style. And that was what I noticed the most about this. Sinjin got head kicked in his last fight in January, so I don't know how much that Dakota's going to be throwing head kicks or anything. But I would like to see. I would like to see how this fight plays out. It's going to be an interesting fight either way, I think. But like I said, I think these guys are probably the most similar fighters matching up against each other on the card. I think it'll be a relative chess match, would be the way I'd put it, between these two guys.
Yeah, we haven't seen really either one of these fighters striking too much. So I'm thinking.
Well, I was going to say, last time we counted out Dakota Williams, if you don't recall, because of that weight loss he had. And he totally proved us wrong. Never again doubting Dakota here.
Well, I was just saying, I think it's going to go to the ground. That's what I'm alluding to.
Right. I think it'll be a good ground match to watch. I think if anybody's into kind of
transitions,
the more BJJ part and want to kind of check this out, maybe would be the fight to watch. I think. Up next is Jesse Skaggs, 0-1 versus Thomas Sixbury, who's making his debut into the cage. Jesse Skaggs coming out of Derby City again. In his debut against Grant Holland, he had a really good first round. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. in that first round, he dominated the ground for the most part. He did a great job on the ground. And if it would have went 2 more rounds like that, he would have won decision. But what happened was he constantly was trying to get the sub, burning his energy up. And by round 2, he was so gassed out, you could obviously tell he was cooked there. So he had some really good shots, even in like he was good on the feet too. He just couldn't maintain the pace that first round really took it out of him, because I think he was expecting to get that win right out the gate, and then it went in a little further than he was anticipating, and he'd overcommitted. So this is Thomas Sixberry's debut. I'm not sure if he's fought any outside. I couldn't find any footage of him. So I think if I'm Thomas, my game plan here is to, see if Jesse's got that gas tank. Maybe unless you're just some secret knockout artist who's going to come out here and just completely wow the whole place, maybe drag the fight out and see if the gas tank's there, wear him down, and get a decision win here. Or, I don't know how your skill is on the ground, Thomas, but maybe you can out wrestle him. But other than that, I think that was my only real critique about Jesse, was that he was just overcommitting a little bit too much there in the beginning. And I think if he manages his gas tank a little bit, he'll be able to.
I feel like in that fight, though, he was pretty easily was able to get a takedown, though.
Yeah, his skill was great, but I just don't. He couldn't get the submission, and he was burning a lot of energy. Was what I was getting at with that. So,
well, Jesse has a lot of, well, not a lot, but he has some smooth comp stuff, and clearly a practitioner of jiu-jitsu. Listen, I'd like to see Jesse cook this dude. Like, I mean, just slow cook him. I mean, take him down, make him feel your pressure. Wear him down. You ain't gonna put him away. You ain't gonna submit him. I'd like to see Jesse go out there and cook this dude, but what I like to see. I think he could do it. Is why I'm saying that. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think maybe if it's more managed, like he was really trying hard in that fight against Grant Holland there to get that.
It was his first time out too.
It was
just Habib style him, just slowly cook them until they just can't handle it anymore and take them out then. But I don't know.
It should be a good one to watch. I'll be excited to see how that one kind of plays out too. Like I said, this whole card is really exciting. Just if you're a fan of the sport, I think a lot of people come in and they're like, "Oh, you just got to see knockouts and stuff," but it's really cool to go in and kind of get an insight to some of this stuff. Where maybe if you're just kind of going to watch the fights and you don't really kind of pay attention, you might not know some of the stuff, and it would be it kind of puts a different light on stuff. But up next, we got Stacy Winters 1 and 2 versus Chase Hayamnol. I'm not sure how to say his last name. I'm going to refer to him as Chase. Stacy's coming out of Nice Guy Submission Fighting. He trains with Jeremy Montez, which we got to see.
Yeah, let's say we like those guys. We like Jeremy Montez.
Jeremy Montez was a great time. We really enjoyed watching him fight. So, but Stacy fought Blake Alvey in the main event at Future Fighting 6, and I don't think that was meant to be the main event, if I'm not mistaken. I was there, and I feel like it was a different main event, and they switched it because somebody missed weight. So, I don't know. I don't believe that Stacy took the fight on short notice, but he could have. But I rewatched the fight today. He also fought Murat, who is also fighting at Future Fighting next week. Next week. But during the Blake Alvey fight at Future Fighting 6, there at the end of the fight, he got rocked by Alvey. But the rest of the fight, it was really, it was a really good back and forth. I thought they both did a great job. But he just got caught. And when he got caught, he was kind of wearing, but both of them were kind of wearing at the end of the fight there. But he got caught, started getting flurries thrown at him, and after that, the fight was over. Chase, on the other hand, he fought last November. He won by significant strikes in 31 seconds into the first round. It was a pretty vicious fight. So I think if he can bring that intensity, this fight here is going to be one to watch as well. A lot of fighters are coming out of Club MMA, which is where Chase is coming out of. So I'm sure he's got a good camp in. If he can bring that same intensity, this should be a really good fight to watch.
I feel like Winter is super unlucky with those 2 losses, though.
Yeah.
So those are some tough competition.
Yeah. I guess you get to the point where that is kind of, you don't want to like overextend yourself, but you're getting into the tougher fights. You're wanting to test yourself, and then you risk kind of smudging your record a little bit. It looks like to just, but like you said, could have been an unlucky thing, but that's not taking anything out of Blake Alvey. Blake Alvey was great. That performance was awesome out of him too. But
Chase is also a wrestler, though. And
yeah,
Winters did struggle.
I didn't even think about that.
Against Marat.
Well,
so
what do y'all think of Chase's win over Prashana? I'm not sure how to say his last name.
Quick
in the Ohio Combat League. He slammed him. He broke his arm. I know it's strikes on top. I guess it would be strikes, but he slammed the guy and he broke his arm. Super vicious, by the way. I mean, Chase definitely whipped him, but a little unlucky. Like, got to land on his arm. I'd like to see Chase longer into a fight because he was super explosive. Chase said he's a wrestler, so he's gonna be explosive. I'd like to see him further into a fight because he only had 31 seconds that last fight, and the other guy got a little unlucky and maybe didn't break fall properly. So I'd just like to see him for rounds 2 and 3. I believe he has the grit to go that far, but I'd just like to see it.
I think it's gonna be.
I'm sure Stacy can take him there if he wanted to.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be kind of a grittier fight than a lot of the fights might be in this card. I think this one might be, some big shots, big plays. But other than that, we can go on down to Snorton versus Bays here. Personally, I didn't see much about Snorton, but he trains out of HRMMA, which is also where Steven Stefano trains. So I'm sure he's getting some excellent training in for his MMA debut against Toro Bays, who is 0-5. Toro Bays, in his MMA career, will be looking for his first win this time out. Toro's last fight was against Felix Gonzalez, and I watched that fight just to kind of see where Toro was sitting at. His record is pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
And as I watched the fight with Gonzalez and Bays, I got to thinking, if you're going to do this, you're going to need to implement some kind of strategy and some kind of technique into your fighting. And, going into this fight, I watched it. He was really, he was throwing wild punches, and he was kind of off center in a way, his feet were in front of him, he was sliding. He looked like he was all over the place, he was on ice skates or something. And I think if Toro is going to have a chance at winning this fight, he needs to get some structure in his training camp. He needs to find him a gym, which obviously that's not going to help this late in the game. We got to fight in 2 days, but hopefully he has found something coming up to this fight. Maybe he's got a good training camp in. And he needs to bring the energy he brings, because he brings pretty good energy, but he needs to structure a little bit better. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm seeing a knockout probably happening.
I think Snorton's going to put him out. Snorton's a big dude. I forgot to mention that. He's
a pretty big individual. Built,
so Toro's going to have a fight on his hands, I think. So I'm excited to see this, but, I would like to see Toro get some good shots and stuff in here. I want to see him progressing from the fights I've watched.
He definitely has the experience.
Yeah, he's got time in the cage. He just needs to.
Yeah,
I think he needs to
use that to his advantage. He don't have his first fight jitters, his second fight jitters. Snorton hasn't had that yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a real thing. It really is.
So that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Toro, if you see this, brother, you have it, brother. You've been in there 8 times more than any of us have. Use that to your advantage. That is your advantage you have here. Is it 8? 5, sorry. I think it's someone else.
He's fought more than that, though, didn't he?
Oh, I'm thinking MMA.
His grappling matches as well.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, on to probably my most anticipated fight of the night is Gabe Ruth versus Jason Carson, man. I had the chance to sit down with Gabe Ruth leading into this fight, and
Go watch it. Go watch it right now.
Go check it out. Pause this video. After you finish this video.
Pause it. Yeah, whatever you need. It's a good one.
Gabe's a really awesome guy, man. All these guys I've talked to I've had such a good time interviewing these people, but Gabe seemed like he was really focused and ready to put on a show. Gabe is on a 3-fight win streak. He's pretty much knockout artist so far in his MMA career and kickboxing.
Go look at any one of those fights. Instant fan.
I'll tell you what.
Go look at
you can watch all 3 of his last fights. In the time that I said that we were going to start talking about this fight, he has 3 fights under 60 seconds. Not collectively, each fight is under 60 seconds. But Still, that's crazy. We watched him as his MMA debut at the HRMMA card. I don't remember which one it was, but
Shepherdsville one earlier this year, right?
Yeah, okay, at Shepherdsville. But when we were going up there, you guys told me, "Hey, you need to watch Gabe Ruth," and y'all did not lie. We come out there, Gabe done his business and left. So I'm very excited to see this fight. That being said, Gabe, in his MMA career so far and his kickboxing career, hasn't went past the first round. So I'm curious to see if it goes past the first round, what Gabe looks like past that first round. Jason Carson's coming in 2-1 in this fight, and both of his wins are coming by decision. Jason has some good movement in his fights. He's always looking for a takedown. So Jason gets a takedown on Ruth, and I'm going to be watching very closely to see how this plays out because I've yet to see Ruth's ground game. But I do know Ruth has some experience on the ground in his previous training. I'm assuming he'll practice it today. And I'm not too worried about him having too much trouble with it, but I just would like to see it if it does happen to go to that. Obviously, I'd like another first round knockout from either of these guys or whatever. But I would like to. I'm just curious, I guess.
I'm very intrigued how Gabe's gonna, if he does get taken down, how he's gonna handle it.
Carry on.
All right. Up next, we got Damian Sanders and Jordan Gass for the vacant bantamweight championship belt. This is another fight I'm looking forward to, man. I sat down with Jordan and we had a great talk, man. He's a super guy, but Jordan and Damian are going for the title here, and Jordan being 4-4. We talked a lot about, he's been doing professional grappling matches, and he's been most recently kind of kickboxing some too. Won his match against Danny Walters at Kings of Kickboxing 9. We talked about that on the show, that he has a gym he owns, and he's been doing stuff with Gas Tank MMA. And he kind of felt like maybe he had attention divided between some of that stuff, and understandably so. It's a huge commitment, and I'm so excited to see what Gas Tank MMA does and what they do in the MMA community. But he's wanting to bring this title belt back to his gym. This will be the first title that they've won since starting, I think, 2 years ago. So it would mean the world to him to have the title back as the owner of the gym, to be the first title holder. He seemed really focused, and I want to see how that plays out for him. Damian, on the other hand, he's undefeated, 2 unanimous decisions and 1 KO in round 1 against Mason Collette. Damian is a very fast and accurate fighter. He's a very, really on-the-point striker. He's got a presence about him in the octagon. He kind of controls the octagon. He walks the guys down, goes in fast and accurate, and then kind of gets back out. But he's been putting some stuff on social media about his training camp and stuff. He looks like he's prepared. Both guys seem really driven and ready to come into this fight. So Jordan, I feel, could be a problem on the ground, and Damian, he's going to be a danger on the feet, So I couldn't find any videos of Damian being on the ground. So if Jordan does get a takedown, I'm interested to see how Damian reacts, and if Damian stays on the feet with Jordan, I'd like to see how Jordan reacts to kind of the vice versa. What do you guys think?
Jordan will go for a takedown. That's not a mystery. That's the game plan. But I'm kind of curious how, if this fight can make it to the 4th or 5th round, if Jordan can live up to the Gas Tank, name.
Well, he has done a lot of professional grappling, and he's
very busy, very busy.
On the Cameron Ashby.
Either way, I'm excited for the Jordan Gass and the Damian fight. Up next for the co-main event, we've got Cameron Ashby, who's 3-3, and Zach Russ, who's 2-1 for the vacant middleweight championship. Cameron is a huge dude. He is a very nice guy, but he's a very scary-looking guy. And he has got his last 2 fights by KO, TKO in rounds 1 and 2, and he did lose a split decision to Jacob Yancey. I think that's important. In March of last year, but I think going into this, we can expect some serious action in this fight. Cameron going up against Zach. Zach has been a very successful. He's had a very successful career. He's a very busy man.
Loves to fight.
He's very active in the kickboxing
every single weekend.
He fights every weekend.
He loves.
I think Zach's going to try to make a statement this weekend. I think Cameron's going to try to make a statement this weekend. So there should be fireworks here. They're going to both try to get that belt. And Zach's fight against Ian DeJarnis was absolutely brutal, man. I mean, that was a rough-looking fight.
Dude's a warrior, man. Killer. They just keep coming for your blood, I tell you.
Ripper.
I think Cameron's best game plan here may be to kind of get in close and avoid the striking, and he's going to have to avoid Russ's knees. He's got some kind of nasty knees. He's just nasty all around. It's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be one to watch. But Cameron needs to make sure he's got his defense up. But I'm sure Cameron can put him out just as quick as he can put Cameron up. So it'll be a really good back and forth to watch. I'm excited about this co-main. Anything you guys have? All right. Lastly, for our headlining fight, the only pro fight on the card, we got Zlatko Skuljan versus Richard Daffron. I've been able to talk to both these guys, and I'm very excited to see this main event. Both dudes have a ton of heart. They're both very experienced, and it's going to be a dogfight, I feel like. I think this is going to be a really good test for both these guys. Daffron's last fight was in September against Steve Collins, the LFA. He fought it on 3 weeks' notice, and in the first few minutes of the fight, he broke his hand. So his amateur career is impressive, just as Zach's is. So he's going to be looking to get his first pro win this weekend, which Zach is currently undefeated with 1-0. But Zach has an impressive resume as well. We had a good talk on the show, and he's looking to come out and get his second pro win. 7 of his fights have been ended by rear naked choke. So he does have some success with striking, but he told me on the show there's no surprise here. He's going to come out and wrestle. He's going to try to get him to the ground and take the fight from there. So I think this is going to be a real scrap, but I'm hoping to see kind of like Richard's game plan in this. You know, he knows coming into this that Zach's going to wrestle. Has he prepared for that? Can he do takedown defense? Or is he just going to try to swing wildly? I see this going, you know, depending on who gets their side of it done first, you know. You get 2 different ways out of this, you know. If Zach comes out, gets the takedown right off the bat, it could be a really different round than if, you know, Richard lands a big shot on Zach as he goes in or something. You know, you never know. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I know you only go to your last fight, but Daffron has tons of submissions, man. I'm just really interested. You know, Zach said he's going to wrestle. I'm excited to see the ground game in this match. I feel like it's going to be interesting to watch.
I feel like Richard's going to come up swinging, but Zach's going to be able to take him down. Probably find the sub.
I mean, I'm ready. This card has got me, like, extremely ready to maybe go back through after the card and kind of go back through these notes and see, like, you know, how did this all play out? And I can't wait to see it live and in person. So, with that being said, go out and get your tickets for HRMMA. Go out and get your tickets for the other cards I mentioned earlier as well. MMA is on the rise in Kentucky, I feel like, and I'm so glad to have the boys here with me to talk about it. It is very early morning right now, and we were kind of gassing out, I think. So,
we aren't gas tank.
We are. I've been taking in a deep
Toro
water
Bays.
So, if anybody sees
let us know if you find them, because we want to talk for 3KO.
Or 3K, yeah. Contact us, yep.
If you're a fighter, if you're a promoter, let us know if you want to come on the show. We want to interview you. Let us know, please.
We do need all the support we can get. If you do want to come on the show, like you said, if you're a fighter, promoter, anything to do with the fight game.
Anything, coach,
if you want to, we'll come to your gym. Just let us know. We'll come out to the gym. We'll hang out with you. I don't care. We just like to being a part of this. And so hopefully we can all, you know, continue this, and we'll be at the fights this weekend, and I'll be at all the fights in Kentucky, as far as I know, for the next 3 weeks. So I hope to see you guys there, and you guys take care. And I think that's it.
See you in 3 months.
See you in
3 months. Bye.